So, what the hell is an instant classic? I hear this used all the time when people get excited about an album's release and then it drops and they're like, instant classic. I'm thinking, how can something be a classic when classic is usually determined over the course of time, when something's greatness is like preserved and people are listening to it like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road? But some people will declare something an instant classic like the day it's released and say, oh, instant classic. But I don't really think they're giving it a lot of thought. I think they're just kind of caught up in the moment, listening to it, thinking it's good and thinking that somehow it's a classic. And if there are exceptions, let's break down a few examples. I remember when Aquemini dropped and it got 5 mics in the source. It already had Rosa Parks and Skew It on the Barbie, and then Art of Storytelling 1 and 2, Chonky Fire at the end, Liberation featuring CeeLo, Erykah Badu, and others. And it was pretty much widely recognized as a fantastic album. A lot of more mainstream rap listeners weren't as into Outkast at the time. I mean, Outkast's legend grew with every album, but it wasn't until Stankonia that Outkast's popularity kind of hit a fever pitch with Miss Jackson and So Fresh and So Clean and so forth. But Aquemini, their third album in '98, might be an exception. All Eyes on Me could be an exception. Life After Death, another exception that came right in the wake of Biggie passing away. And people had already heard like 5 of the singles before the album even dropped, and it was just, yeah, it was crushing it. So there could be exceptions. But let's take Kendrick Lamar's third major label album, Damn, his most recent album. When that album dropped, people lost their minds. And I'm not saying that it's not a good album. I'm not even saying it's not a great album. I'm just saying that time, in this case, will have to tell the story, whether or not it's a classic. It's got 4 pretty big singles. It's got Humble, Love, Loyalty, and DNA. They all did pretty well on the charts. Only Humble was a #1, but the other 3 singles did well too. Astro World was another one that a lot of people were saying was an instant classic. Astro World's a damn good album, but again, I don't know over the course of time whether it's going to be preserved as a classic, whether people are going to be talking about it 5, 10, 15 years down the road, whether it's going to be something that's remembered or something that's hot and then soon forgotten, which is the case in a lot of these instant classic declarations. So we'll see. I'll have a little more to add to this topic later, but if you can think of any instant classics that come to mind, instant classics meaning as soon as this album dropped, it was declared a classic and it actually turned out to be a classic. So if you can think of any, drop them in the comments. Let me know.